Hello, my lovely witches. It's been so long since I wanted to make this video. I finished my Grimoire a few weeks ago, and ever since then I've been wanting to make this video, but with one thing and another I haven't been able to. I apologise in advance if I sound a bit croaky or if I start coughing. I have actually had COVID and I'm still recovering, but I wanted to give this video a go anyway now that I'm starting to sound a little bit more normal. So, without further ado, here is the finished Grimoire. I'm very, very, very pleased about this. So, on the front inside cover, I have put this is an excerpt from a very old alchemical text. It just looks really cool. We've got a little bit of a tag up here. On the inside front cover, I have a few affirmations. I will probably come back in and decorate this page as well. This is my little Grimoire Blessing contents page. A little tab here so that I can flip to my contents page pretty quickly. My natal chart and my astrological oil blend. So this is an essential oil blend that I've created based on my natal chart. So the various parts are to do with how many planets are in a particular sign. So in this case, I have four planets in Scorpio. So I've done 4 parts of patchouli. The oils are all oils that are related to specific astrological signs. And it smells so heavenly. I get a lot of compliments when I wear this oil as a perfume. Then we move into my Wheel of the Year. I always start with Yule. To me, that's the beginning of the year. I know that traditionally Samhain is the witch's new year, but that just doesn't quite feel right to me. It feels a lot more like an ending and a transition stage. And then Yule, with the birth of the sun, feels a lot more like that beginning. So I have my little right in here. I know if you've seen my big magical book tour, you may have already seen quite a lot of these pages, but if not, here they are. So this is in bulk. Stara, or the spring equinox. I've got my right and what have you in here. This little bunny, actually, if I flip to the back and pull out this, I found this adorable vintage cutout paper doll and costume set, and they all fit Bonnie, her name is, the bunny. And she just felt really, really cool to be sitting in my spring equinox spread. And sometimes I'll choose her an outfit and put the spread open on my altar during the spring equinox. Get back in there. There we go. Right. So as you can see, this is very chunky. I just like to add too much stuff to all my books. Beltane, and I've added some Beltane ideas in this little envelope where I've had further thoughts on things I might like to do at Beltane. So generally speaking, I write about what's going on in the area where I live, what can be done at this time of year, what ideas for meals to have to celebrate the season, and then an actual rite that I do, or a ritual. Then we have Litha. And again, this is just an envelope with a few additional things to be done at Litha. Lunasa. Amon. and Samhain. And I have this spread which is about protection charms, and specifically these are car protection charms, but they could actually be house protection charms as well. They could be used for any protective magic. This Elemental Blessings page is actually a direct quote from a series of books called The Witches of Elianan by Kate Forsyth. She's an Australian author, absolutely incredible author, amazing book series. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. This is my cleansing and purification of the home ritual, which I've been doing for years. My new moon ritual with, as I think I've said before, my failed, screwed up pop-up. Didn't actually work, but it's fine. And this is actually a stamp from an apple from my apple tree. We did these, I did these with some friends, fellow witches. We had a Mabon celebration and did a little bit of witchy crafting and made apple stamps. And so I've stuck one in here because it obviously represents the apple tree that I tie my intentions to each month. My full moon ritual. And this is a little section on the 4 elements and their various associations. This is my Florida water recipe. Traditional Florida water made in America is very hard to get here in Australia, and even if you can get it, it's incredibly expensive. But there's a lot of recipes available out there, and this is my recipe, my take on it, and it smells incredible, and I use it in cleaning and, you know, all sorts of things really. Use it as a sort of a spray around the house or in my car or even at work. Then we have my Kitchen Witch Healing Salt recipe, which I use on all sorts of different recipes and dishes, but it specifically gives some healing energies to the food that I consume. My green money rice recipe, again, you can't really purchase green money rice here in Australia because it's not a traditional, it's a very traditional hoodoo or conjure root work type recipe, so you don't see it much for sale here. So I have my own recipe. This is my money drawing oil. This is the 10 of Pentacles to represent abundance and prosperity. This is a prosperity powder recipe that you can use for a variety of different reasons. Sachets and candles and incense, and just add it to money bowls, sprinkle it across the threshold, etc. My aura of prosperity, it's a prosperity spray. My sleep balm and sleep mist recipes. One thing I will say is that, oh hello Nefertiti, I have a number of pieces of ephemera in this book that are actually not made by me. They're made by Molly Roberts. As you know, I'm a Patreon of hers, and I like to use the things that I receive in my snail mail in my books. So not everything in here is by me. I will link her channel down below just so that you know and she knows that I'm not ripping off her stuff. Magical soaps recipe. I spoke about using magical soaps in my daily magic video. This is my protection soap recipe. Witch's soap, moon soap, my black soap. My Love and Harmony mist, which I use predominantly to maintain a balance and harmony between the cats in my household. As you know, I have 3 cats and they don't always get along. Godric can be quite antagonistic when he wants to be. Then we have my happiness oil. And this is something that actually I thought I might talk about, because there's a lot of people out there who worry about screwing up a page in their book of shadows, their precious sacred book. Yeah, this is a precious, precious sacred book of mine. But it's not perfect. Are there spreads in here I don't like? Yeah, absolutely. Do I worry about that? Hell no, because at the end of the day, it's really just the information that I need. You know, when I'm looking to create my happiness oil, I need to come to this page to find my recipe and recreate it. It is, you know, it's not the most perfect page. You'll see that the product that I used on the page on healing oils has bled through dramatically on this page, which, you know, this is not proper watercolor paper or anything, so it's not that surprising. This is just notebook paper. And it isn't perfect, but it doesn't matter. And I think that's something that people sometimes forget, that a book of shadows or a grimoire is your working book. Sure, you might leave this to a relative sometime in the future, but that doesn't mean that it has to have absolute perfection. It doesn't mean that, you know, you've ruined it by having a page that isn't perfect. Anyway, just my thoughts. So, some healing oil recipes. And some healing spells that I do. And because I know that I'm likely to create new healing spells as well, I like to have this pocket that I can just slip another one into. You know, this is a bath recipe that I have been using for 25 years. But this spell bowl recipe is one that I only created in the last 12 months. And I've recently done another sachet recipe for healing, or recipe spell for healing, that I might want to do it again, and I might add it into this page here. Cat blessing spell. If you've seen this page before, you'll notice that I've added a little bit more ephemera to it. Then we come into the pages. I think this is where I left off last time. I had started but not finished my colour magic section. So this is now done. And yeah, you'll see that I've just done all the information that I can glean, that I know and that makes sense to me about a particular colour. People will have different feelings on the matter, different ideas on the matter, and some people can be very, you know, strict that, oh no, well, blue is only for this and not for that, so you can't use it for that. No, it's what resonates with you. It's what works with you. If that colour, and different cultures have very different symbology when it comes to colour. So what I see as the properties of the colour blue might be quite different from someone of a very different culture. And that is totally okay. So yellow, green, pink, two different types of purple, more of an indigo or a violet, brown, orange, black and grey, white, silver, gold. This is really unfortunate. These beautiful transfers that I've used in here are very old, and in some instances the glue that sort of sticks them to the page sort of seeps out, or when you rub it gets on the edges and then it sticks my pages together, which is very frustrating because it's something I've tried really hard to avoid. One thing that you find if you use acrylic paint in your books is that if you've used it on both pages, they will often stick together and be hard to pull apart. My solution to that is to, well, not use acrylic paint too often in my book. If I do, I use the finest scraping of it as opposed to painted on with a brush, because it's those thicker portions that you get in brush strokes that actually stick together. I recommend you can buy matte acrylics, and they're pretty good, but again, if they're spread too thickly, they will stick together. I prefer to use gouache, which has the opaqueness of an acrylic paint, but it's water-based and it works like a watercolour. I also use watercolour. I also use spray paint. They are all great mediums for working in books. These are my moons. You've seen 2 other books on those. I also have this little packet. I'm not quite sure if this is going to stay in my book because it's so thick, but it's a little sort of deck, I suppose. It's sticking together now. A little deck of affirmations for each phase of the moon. Yeah, it is sticking together. I must have stuck this in here when the glue wasn't dry properly. Anyway, we will sort that out at another date. So I might actually keep this as a sort of separate little folio rather than keep it stuck in my book. My witch's runes. This is another piece of Molly Ephemera that I received in snail mail, and I really wasn't quite sure what to do with it. And then I had the sudden idea that if I wrote all the witch's runes out in this as well, that I could just flip this out when I'm using my runes and flip it back in, and I don't necessarily have to have my book where I'm working on my spread or throwing my stones, which can sometimes be good because it can sometimes take up a lot of space. Empath Shield recipe. You make this both as an oil and as a spray. Now this 7-day magical makeover is again something I've been doing. I've probably only done it half a dozen times in my life, but it's a really incredible way to reconnect with your witchcraft practice. But it does take time. It does take 7 days, and you need to have those 7 days fully available pretty much to just do this magical makeover, which is why, as I say, I've only done it probably half a dozen times in my life. But this is my edited version, but it actually came from Fiona Horn's book, Witch: A Personal Journey, I think it's called. So she suggests it in that book, and that was back in the 90s when she wrote that book, and I really loved the idea. I have simplified it because it's very ritual heavy, and I don't ritualize quite the same way as I maybe used to. But yeah, so this is the start and end of each of the 7 days, and then these are the rituals and things that you do for, and incenses that you make for each day. It's a really, really great thing to do. Like, it just, if you need a boost to your witchy, practice, sometimes we get a little bit stale and we're like, and you don't really know what to do, and you can't get motivated again, and then you feel like you're a bad witch, and which, by the way, is ridiculous. But, you know I felt that way. And this is a really great kickstart to immerse yourself back in. I believe that she even wrote a whole book on this called 7 Days to a More Magical You or something. I don't have it. I have most of her books, but I don't have that one. It was sort of at the stage where she was starting to be pushed into writing a lot of, books for teenagers. And as I was not a teenager at the time, they didn't resonate with me. And I suspect that it was put a little bit more towards the teenage audience. But check it out, have a look at on in your local bookshops or online or wherever. I don't know if it's still in print, but I can highly recommend this 7-day dedication to the craft. It's really enjoyable. These are Colour Wheels of Abundance. Pretty sure this came from Cassandra Eason. I'm not sure which book it would have been in. I've got a number of her witchcraft books, but lots of fun. You create these wheels of things that you want to manifest in your life. This one I did, which are actually things that I'm looking at the moment, but when I was creating this spread in this page, I'm like, well, I need to have an example of it. So normally I would hide these somewhere around the house, and if you come across them in the future, you can, either tuck them away again if you haven't manifested those things, or throw it away or destroy it, or, ritually dispose of it if you like. If you have manifested those things. And if you've only manifested some of them, you can create a new wheel or stick something over the things that you have manifested. It's a really fun art witchy thing to do. These are the Magical Correspondences of Feathers. This is another Fiona Horn based idea, again from the late 90s, of creating a sacred earth space. And I've done this earth space creation in most of the places that I've lived. Not all, but almost all. And something that, for me, earth is not my natural element. It's bizarre. I have no earth at all in my natal chart. I am predominantly water and air with some fire as well. No earth at all, which means that I find grounding really hard, and I find connection with the earth and understanding the earth really hard, which is bizarre because I find working with plants really easy. Growing them, no. I'm terrible gardener. I really am a terrible gardener. But working with plant material, like foraging or using dried herbs, herbalism practice for medicine. I'm a aromatherapist. Using plants in my practice is massive, but earth is difficult for me. So creating a sacred earth space, this is really nice to create a space and then try and spend time in it. I'm such an indoor kitty, I really am, and it can be really hard for me to force myself to spend time outside, which probably sounds weird for a witch because it is a nature-based practice. But I do so much of my observing of the seasons out of the window. I don't do it as much in nature. I love it when I do, but, I have some mobility problems, so, that can be difficult to go out to beautiful sacred spaces, and my backyard's just not that interesting. So creating a sacred earth space is a really great way for me to both connect with nature and actually get myself out into it and experiencing it. This is a love bath to sort of invoke Cleopatra's allure and power. and her beauty. Something that I make quite a lot. It's based on using milk powder, but if you were vegan, you can use it instead with oatmeal, finely ground oats instead of milk. Artistic spellcraft, so this is just how to go about creating arts and crafts specifically as a spell, as an intention. This this little power chant, I actually use this power chant. It sounds corny because it is from the 1996 Craft movie, which I love. You know, that's a big favourite movie of mine. It's not the reason I got into witchcraft, unlike a lot of people of my, probably a little bit younger than my generation. But it's fun. Obviously, I've adapted it for the first person rather than the, or for the singular rather than the group. But I love it. Now is the time. This is the hour. Mine is the magic. Mine is the power. It's a powerful chant. It's really cool. So don't judge me. Invoking the elements. I don't often cast a circle, as I think I've said, but I will sometimes invoke the elements in the way that I used to cast a circle, just to connect with them, I guess, to connect with elemental spirits in a more sort of purposeful way. This is my favourite tarot spread, my alchemical tarot spread that I use quite a lot. I haven't written very many tarot spreads into this book. In fact, I think there's only 2 because I have another book where I will write up spreads and things. But this is one that I really use a lot, so it's in here. My Get Shit Done oil recipe. My 9-knot cord spell. There are many variations on this 9-knot cord spell, and you'll see I've got a little cord in here with 9 knots. Just a little piece of magic already in the page. My Flower Power Love oil recipe that I created a couple of years ago in the sort of middle of summer. This is my Black Cat oil recipe. I love to use my Black Cat oil. And again, I like to write things on cards so that I can pull them out of my book rather than have to have my chonk sitting here, you know, as I'm making things. This Wheel of the Year came from the Muses of Mystery. My Purifying Elixir recipe, which I use a lot in the shower. I will add it to either a soap base or shower gel, but I'll also use it as a spray. Yeah, I think this is the only other tarot spread. This is a deck interview spread, so it's a great one for whenever you get a new tarot or oracle deck. This actually came from my Penumbra Tarot, which I think I've shown you before. Great Aussie creator, really lovely deck. I have a scrying mirror in my book. That's going to show the light above. And a little bit about what scrying is, how to do it. And this section is my herbal resin crystals that I make. I make these actually for purchase in my Etsy store, Corrigan Creations if you're looking for it. And I make them for a variety of different reasons. So I keep these recipes in here so that I can continue to make them over and over again. Prosperity, healing, divination, love, and protection. This is just a little again, piece of Molly Roberts ephemera that was really beautiful with the moons on it. This could be a good spot to tuck these if they're not too chunky. I'm not sure if that's going to work. My Crown of Success oil, which I think I've spoken about as well, that I will often add to my shampoo and conditioner to bring those success energies with me every single day. My black salt recipe, which I add herbs to mine. You don't have to, but I really like to. And last but not least, my seed blessing ritual, which I have some seeds that I want to plant sitting in here. So this is my seed blessing ritual. Just tucked into this section here. As I said, I've got some seeds I want to plant when the time is right. And that's that. I may come and decorate this page as well. I might even put another spell or piece of information in there. The book needs a little bit of repair already. That's because I have stuffed it full. It is so big and so fat. It's nuts. Oh, I've got these little, let's put these down here. I can show you these little charms that I've created. Little resin pentagram and these cute little charms that I have, you'll see, hot glued down the spine of the book with this. Another little moon hot glued to it as well. So that's it. It's my book. I hope you have enjoyed this flip through of my grimoire. See you in the next videos, witches.